Hey, friends, as you may have heard, the old Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, is deleting all of our data next week. You'll see there's this very subtle countdown timer when you log into your old Google Analytics account in a little over 10 days. So, even less time by the time you watch this. They're going to be shutting down our ability to access Universal Analytics, which effectively means all of our data is going to be deleted. So I would highly recommend, even if you have not used Universal Analytics in a year, go in and export your data just so you have it handy. And what I'm going to do is walk through how to do that very briefly and the handful of reports that I would recommend you export and how I would recommend you export them just to have them be as useful as possible. I actually went through this process earlier this week here at Wired Impact and just documented what I found helpful, and I hope you do too. So when you log into Universal Analytics, just close out of this countdown timer. You can just click around it. I'm going to switch my profile to Wired Impact here real quick. So this Pekka countdown timer is going to pop up again. Sorry about that. And I'm going to start in our behavior report here. So I'm going to go behavior, site content, all pages. And you will see there's actually no data because it's only looking at the last week and we haven't used this tool in over a year since Google forced us all into Google Analytics 4. So the easiest way to find the date range that you need to export, I've found, is just click on the date up here, change this 2024 to be 2000, and it'll show you the last 20, it'll show you the last 20 years basically of data. So if you click on month here instead of day, just clicked on month, it'll make that a little easier to see. And okay, so we started collecting traffic data here. This is just a test site that we've used in October of 2018. So I'll use that as the beginning of my date range, and I'll use April 2023 as the end. So let me just change this real quick. I'm going to do October 1, 2018, and we're going to run this until April 30th, 2023. All right, so I'm going to click apply, and that'll just zoom in on this date range. So now I'm only looking at this date range. I'm sorted by month, which is what you're going to want to do in most of these reports. It's going to make the data a whole lot less overwhelming. And yeah, so here what we're getting is a summary of just our top pages. Now you'll see by default it only shows 10, but there's actually over 3,000 entries in this. For most organizations, you're not going to need all 3,000 of those. For most of these reports, start with 1,000 or so. So you just, at the bottom there, sorry, I should have called that out a little bit more, where it says show rows, you can change this drop down to get more or less data. You'll see at the bottom here, the vast majority of these are just junk and they have one view. These are just because they have a query string at the end. So honestly, here, probably the top 100 is going to be plenty of data for us. So I will change that. Yeah, and even here, you'll see we're into those just query string pages with one view. But, the vast majority of this is going to be helpful. So that is what I'm going to go ahead and export. I am in my monthly view here, which is what I want to make sure I'm doing. And then I'm just going to click on export here. Now you have a few different options: PDF, Google Sheets, Excel file, CSV file. I would recommend a Google Sheet file or an Excel file if you use either one of those pieces of software. A PDF is essentially just going to be a picture, and so you'll have the data, but you can't interact with it. You can't turn it into reports nearly as easily. So what I did is I used a Google Sheet. You could use a CSV file in a pinch, but if you use one of these two, I would start there. And I'm just going to click Google Sheets, go ahead and click import the data here. And pretty quickly, you'll see what it does is it'll actually ingest all of that data into Google Sheets. And here's my full report. Here's my top 100 pages, with my headers. It pulls in the totals here at the bottom. And then it actually pulls in that monthly breakdown here of page views as well, which is what was showing up in that graph at the top and part of why we summarized monthly. So a couple quick changes I made in these reports, decide whatever is going to be more useful to you. I changed the name here, the title, because the titles are not super descriptive. So, I changed this to be all pages report. And then the date range, for whatever reason, they wrote it in the most difficult way to comprehend possible. So you'll see it's sort of using this year, month, day format. So I just changed those to be a little bit clearer when I jump back in here to tell the date range. And then what I actually did is I would export multiple spreadsheets and then condense them into multiple tabs. Again, whatever's going to be most helpful to you. But that is how I approached it. And I wanted to show you the other reports that I would recommend focusing on as well. So this is our all pages report. I would also look at your top landing pages. This can be helpful information to have. Again, you want to click monthly here instead of the default day view. And you'll see we had a bunch of spammy traffic to a spammy landing page. That's what this spike is right here. But again, this is going to be helpful information for us to have handy. So I'm going to change this. You'll see there's 330 rows in this. I'll just go ahead and change this to be our top 500. That'll give me all of our landing pages. Again, I probably only need actually the first 50 or so here, so I could change that back. One other thing I would recommend looking at here, you'll see there is this conversion rate column. Whoops. There is this conversion rate where right now it defaults to e-commerce. If you have e-commerce tracking set up, that can be fine. For most organizations, you're probably going to want to toggle this over to all goals. And then that will actually, we don't have goals set up on this, so it's not the most helpful, but this will actually show if you did have goal tracking set up, your conversion rates and the number of goal completions for each landing page. That's most likely going to be helpful information to have. You could also, if you had goals, maybe you have like a donation goal, you could drill into specific goals if you wanted to only show conversion rates for specific goals, but you would have to export each of those views independently, unfortunately. So yeah, again, top landing pages I would look at. I also think exit pages here, so behavior, site content, exit pages can be helpful information to look at. Again, there's thousands of them, so figure out the right number before you export them. And again, you're going to want to click monthly to get this summarized by month instead of by day. So those are our behavior reports. Next, I would look at acquisition reports. And in here, there's 3 reports I'm going to focus on as well. So acquisition, all traffic. I'm going to start with channels. So this is going to show me the traffic channels that have driven traffic to our website. And here, there's only 5 of them, so I don't have to worry about the number. Again, look at the conversion dropdown. Just make sure you're looking at all goals or e-commerce, whatever's going to be most useful to you in most cases. Again, probably all goals is going to be the most useful information. And then you're just going to want to click by month again. And just the same as we did before, you'll come up here to export, choose the export file that you would like. In here, the other thing I would do, or that I did anyway, is I actually drilled into each of these traffic sources. Direct, you don't need to worry as much about. But I did drill into, especially say like referral traffic. I want to know the top referrers that are sending traffic to my website historically. And so here's that bot traffic, but here's some other ones that are sending traffic to this site. Yours will probably be a whole lot more interesting than this because it's a real website, not a test website. And you'll probably have a lot more than 16 here. So again, I would change this to be, the top maybe 500, top 1,000 referrers that are sending traffic to your site. Summarize monthly, make sure you're in all goals, go ahead and export that. And then you can get back to that main report where it says default channel grouping referral up here. Just click all. That'll take you right back to the main traffic channels report. And I would probably drill into social. Maybe you have some paid traffic here. Just really kind of make sure you're drilling into each of the traffic sources that are going to be the most helpful given your situation. If you've run ads, you could look at that. Search Console data, I wouldn't worry too much about because you can always get that through Google Search Console. You could look at the social reports if you're big on social media and there's any data that's going to be really helpful in here. Maybe your top landing pages or just an overview of social traffic could be useful information as well. So that is acquisition. And then finally, we're going to look at a few audience reports that I exported for us that I thought were useful. I could see being useful for you as well. The first is to come in here and look at, so we're in audience behavior, new versus returning. And this is going to show us new visitors versus returning visitors to our website, just how they engage, what the bounce rates looked like, the breakdown of traffic. So 75-25 here, new visitors versus returning. And then again, just make sure conversion rates, you have Pick the right goals, either e-commerce or all goals or a specific goal if you need it. And then summarize monthly here, like we have with our other reports. And then you're just going to come to the top, export in whatever format you're using. So that's our new versus returning. I would also come in here and look at your mobile overview. This can be helpful to have long term. Just see the different device categories. Again, summarize monthly, export that in whatever format you're using. Here, there's probably only going to be these three: desktop, mobile, tablet. So you should be good. You shouldn't have to increase the number of rows. And the last one that I think can be useful is to look at geo tracking. So if you click on geo, so we're in audience, geo location. This is going to show us a world map of where folks are coming from. But really what we're going to be focused on is this down here. So, we have 121 countries represented. So I'm going to change this to 250. And you'll see, we can see a full breakdown of where traffic is coming from all over the world. Man, this really makes me miss Universal Analytics compared to Google Analytics 4. But anyway, that's an aside. Change the conversion rate here again, or change the conversion focus here to whatever is going to be useful, and then export it into whatever format you need. So that is it. Those are the reports that I focused on. Now I have that data if I ever need that data. It took, hopefully this will only take you with this, half an hour to do. And just make sure you do it before the end of next week. End of next week, this data is not going to be available anymore. So it's better just to be safe. Make sure you have it handy. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments wherever you're watching this. I'll do my best to get to them. I am not a Google Analytics expert, but spent a lot of time, especially with Universal Analytics. So happy to answer questions and hopefully point you in a helpful direction. I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.